Before sunrise, a resident draws water from a brick-lined neighborhood well. He crosses a fitted bathing floor and sends the used water toward a covered drain. This is Mohenjo-Daro, 4,500 years ago. Around 2500 BCE, it was one of the great urban centers of the Indus Civilization. Its baked brick streets formed organized neighborhoods near the Indus River, in what is now Pakistan. We do not know the city's ancient name. We cannot hear the words its residents used for home, work, or family. Their script remains unreadable, but their buildings and objects reveal the shape of an ordinary day. Morning life depended on water. Mohenjo-Daro contained hundreds of wells. Some stood inside large houses, while others could be reached directly from the street. Many homes were arranged around open courtyards. Rooms opened inward, an arrangement that likely improved shade and privacy. Residents washed on tightly fitted brick platforms. Water moved through wall chutes or small household drains into larger channels outside. This was not modern plumbing, but it shows how deeply water management shaped domestic life. Nearby, food preparation filled courtyards with grinding, pouring, smoke, and the sound of pottery. Across the Indus world, people cultivated wheat, barley, pulses, sesame, and other seasonal plants. Cattle, water buffalo, sheep, and goats supplied labor and valuable animal products. Pottery residues from Indus settlements also provide direct evidence for dairy processing. Yet no archaeologist can reconstruct one exact Mohenjo-Daro breakfast. Grain, pulses, vegetables, or milk are plausible, but any specific meal remains a careful reconstruction. By mid-morning, the city's workshops would have been active. Archaeologists have recovered debris from bead-making, shell-working, and stone tool production. They also found evidence for pottery, copper and bronze work, and the manufacture of ornaments. A skilled craftsperson might drill a carnelian bead. Another might shape a shell bangle, polish stone, or fire small objects in intense heat. Traders could compare goods with standardized stone weights. They could also secure containers or bundles with carved seals. Some raw materials traveled great distances, linking Indus cities with coastal routes, the Arabian Gulf and Mesopotamia. The streets themselves were part of the city's daily machinery. Major routes met smaller residential lanes. Brick drains carried wastewater away from houses. Many of those channels were covered. Settling areas trapped material that had to be removed. Someone had to clean those drains. Someone repaired brickwork and rebuilt wells. Others carried fuel, moved pottery, and transported food. Mohenjo-Daro's order was not automatic. It depended on repeated human work. But we still do not know whether rulers, councils, merchants, neighborhood authorities, or another system directed that work. On the elevated western mound stood the structure now called the Great Bath. It was a carefully built, waterproofed tank reached by descending steps. Its engineering is clear, its purpose is not. It may have supported communal bathing, ceremony, purification, or an activity no longer recoverable. We should not fill that silence with invented priests or royal rituals. Even the famous so-called priest-king has never been proven to represent either a priest or a king. As the sun falls, red-brown brick walls shift into deep blue shadow. Small flames begin to glow in household courtyards, while workshops slowly cool. Water jars rest indoors, and footsteps move quietly through narrow lanes. These night scenes must be reconstructed. Archaeology cannot recover one household's exact evening conversation or routine. Yet quiet rooftops, flickering lamps, insects, distant animals, and footsteps remind us of ordinary life. Mohenjo-Daro was not merely walls and drains. It was a living city filled with individual lives. Today, we can still follow its streets and enter the spaces where ordinary residents once walked. We can study their shell bangles, carnelian beads, pottery, stone weights, and carefully made ornaments. We can trace water from brick-lined wells across bathing floors and onward into covered street drains. but we cannot hear their language, read their personal names, or fully understand their undeciphered script. Next, we examine why Mohenjo-Daro declined, and why no single explanation tells the entire story. Subscribe for carefully researched history. Which surprised you most? The wells, drains, workshops, great bath, or undeciphered script?